And you know what time it is? It's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. Right.
That's right, KP's Video News, y'all. And Monday, October 19th, 2020. That's where we are today, folks. It's a whole new day and a whole new everything. So, go Dodgers. Go Dodgers. Dodgers in the World Series. Yep. See what they're going to do with it. Anyway, Indiana University sophomore dies after being shot in Alabama, and his family fears racial tension. Let's see. We got a 19-year-old Indiana University student died Saturday, a day after he was shot in an argument in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where he was visiting a friend. And SCHULYER Bradley was shot early Friday morning near the Strip and died early Saturday morning. Early Saturday morning, and you know, his father stated that the younger Bradley was with a group of friends when a fight broke out, and that he was shot trying to protect somebody else. And he said, my child was a protector growing up. He always was like this. He did the very same act standing up when friends were being picked on, his father stated. And I'm not sure if racial tension that's going on all over played a part, but I am at a loss for words. And the world we live in. So it's not my neighborhood, not yours. It's everyone's neighborhood. Everywhere. The world has a problem. And Terry, a family friend, said Bradley died wrapped in his mother's arms with his big brother by his side, while his fraternity, Acacia, remembered him as an extraordinary human being, a brother, a friend, and a son. And another person that was initially charged with attempted murder and released from jail Saturday after posting $150,000 bond. His charge has since been upgraded to murder after Bradley died. His name was ZACHARY PROFOZICH, a 22-year-old ZACHARY PROFOZICH. And this situation, like I said, this situation is a college kid who's going to college at Indiana University, and he's visiting with some friends down in Alabama. And man, I hate dealing with the South, man. You know, I'm just gonna be real about it. You know, I have relatives there, but I don't particularly care for it. You know. And so on to the next story. So you know the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor stories, but 10 years after his death, you should know the DJ Henry story. And DJ Danroy Henry Sr. wonders where his son would be and what he'll be doing if he was still alive today. He could be doing anything he wanted to, honestly, but Henry said, think about it, he would have kids. He would probably be an NFL player. Would he be retiring? Would he be on the sideline working? I don't know what he'd be doing, but he had a ton of potential, and I suspect that he would be realizing a lot of that right now. Instead, Danroy DJ Henry Jr. was fatally shot at age 20 in Pleasantville, New York, by police officer Aaron Hess, who was white, fired 4 gunshots at DJ Henry for Henry's moving vehicle. DJ Henry, a Pace University football player, was unarmed. Hess has never been charged in DJ Henry's death, despite the case going before a grand jury in 2011 and being reviewed by federal prosecutors in 2015. Yesterday marked the 10th anniversary of the day DJ Henry died, and October 17th, 2010. And October is a tough month for us. It has always been and always will be. It's Danny's birthday month. It's when we lost him. It's my birthday. It's our other son, Kyle's birthday month. It's our anniversary month. It's a challenging month, Dan Roy Henry Sr. stated. The pain today is as great as it was yesterday. It's as great as it was 10 years ago. And I'm not sure I'll ever be truly healed as a whole. And so what happened the night of Henry's death? About 10:30 p.m. on October 16th, 2010, DJ Henry and others went to Finnegan's in Thornwood, New York, a bar where many Pace players plan to gather that night. There is a shoving match between two men not involved in DJ Henry's group of friends, and police from two departments respond to the fight. After an officer asked Henry to move his Nissan Altima, he drove across a parking lot onto an access road. That's where Pleasantville officer Aaron Hess stepped in front of the car and ended up on the hood. Hess fired through the windshield, killing Henry and wounding one of his friends. The officer said he believed Henry was trying to run him over. A grand jury cleared Hess of wrongdoing in 2011. And October 11th, attorney Ben Crump calls for comprehensive investigation. That's a different story, but DJ Henry was handcuffed after the shooting and placed face down on the ground, not given immediate treatment. Hess was treated for a knee injury. Hess has said he repeatedly shouted for the car to stop and only fired shots into the vehicle's windshield when he ended up on the hood and DJ Henry accelerated. But some witnesses say Hess fired the first gunshot before he was on top of the sedan, and a fellow officer later admitted to firing a gunshot at Hess because he thought Hess was the aggressor. And Hess himself admitted several years later that he could have stepped out of the way of the car. So, a Pace University senior who filmed part of the police response at the bar later stated that the killing was over the top, aggressive, and unnecessary. Later, a U.S. attorney would say Hess made a split-second decision under conditions of extreme danger, conditions which law generally allows latitude to a police officer's judgment. And the family says the police pushed a false narrative. Dan Roy Henry said in the days after the incident, a false narrative was put forward. A statement by Mount Pleasant Police Department said DJ Henry sped off after an officer knocked on his car window. The statement said that the car struck an officer and another officer attempted to pull the Pleasantville cop off the hood, but was also struck. The Henry said they knew what was being described to them was out of character for DJ. For us, it was just about the pursuit of absolute truth. That's what we're all looking for. Tell us the absolute, unredacted truth. What we got was an absolute bald-faced lie that fell apart with time and us leaning into our own investigation. In the days after DJ Henry's death, the Pleasantville Police Union defended Hess, saying he opened fire only after DJ ignored a hand signal to stop, and Pleasantville Police Chief Charlotti said there was no racial bias in DJ Henry's killing, calling it inappropriate and irresponsible to think so. And Brian Soskoff, Hess's attorney, has said his client was justified in shooting at the vehicle. He was hit by a car, he was thrown onto the hood of the car, he was injured, blah, blah, blah. And what has happened since DJ Henry's death? The Henrys say they found out the truth in days, months, and years after DJ was finally shot. They sued Aaron Hess in 2011, which led to depositions with many of the people involved with the night their son died. The same year, Hess was named Officer of the Year by the Police Association and the Pleasantville Police Department for his dignity and professionalism since the shooting and throughout his career. Pleasantville Police initially claimed that Henry drove aggressively toward Hess both Hess and Ronald Beckley. But during a deposition for the Henry family, subsequent to a wrong death lawsuit, Beckley gave a different account. Beckley said he fired his own gun at Hess because when he saw the unfamiliar fellow cop on Henry's car, to him he looked like the aggressor. He said he told his superiors that night Henry was killed. The Henrys have accepted a $6 million settlement in their wrongful death lawsuit against Pleasantville and Hess. They also have settled their lawsuits against another police department involved in the shooting and received an undisclosed amount of money, a $250,000 donation to the DJ Henry Dream Fund, and a public apology. Several months after the Henrys attended President Barack Obama's 2015 State of the Union address as guests, they announced there would be no federal civil rights charges brought in the case. So Henry's death received new attention. An online petition has now been signed by more than 358,000 people. A group of 10 well-known celebrities, including Rihanna, Jay-Z, asked Attorney General William Barr to re-examine and reopen DJ Henry's case. And, you know, if you're waiting on Barr to open it up, you might as well just go ahead and scrap that, because he's not going to reopen that case. And we have a white man charged with federal hate crime after a racist attack on teens. And a white man in Michigan is charged with the federal hate crime after an alleged assault against some black teenager in a state park in June. According to the federal affidavit, James Lee Mowat, 42, came across a group of black youths at a Sterling State Park in Monroe, Michigan on June 6. Witnesses say Mowat yelled racist slurs at the teens and made other threats during the encounter. The affidavit said that Mowat was complaining about the teenagers playing loud music and began making threats. One witness said, heard him say, "These niggas are playing gang music, and I wish someone would say something to me so I can beat them up." Another witness reportedly heard him make a comment to the effect of, "I'll bash their heads in if they don't turn the damn music down." A third witness said he heard Mowat yell, "Black lives don't matter," then grab a chain-like object from his minivan and to swing it at one of the teens, striking him in the face. The victim was identified as Devin Freeline, 18, whose jaw was fractured and he lost several teeth. The FBI investigation determined that Mowat willfully caused bodily injury to the teen, who was African American, because of the actual perceived race and color. The allegations in this case, which essentially amount to violent and blatant racism, are deeply offensive to the values we hold in Michigan, said Matthew Schneider, a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, in a statement. "We will prosecute this case with strength and vigor, and we will do everything we can to seek justice for the innocent victim of this racist hate crime." And the federal charge comes on top of the state hate crime charges against Mowat faces in Monroe County over the same accusation. At a hearing in June, a judge found him indigent and was assigned a court attorney. Final pretrial hearing in the case is scheduled for this month. That's right. Catch them, lock them up. And here we go with another one. And I'm gonna put the link on here so you can watch this video on this particular one. This is the wife-beating cop is arrested while on duty and have his uniform. They cut his uniform off of him with scissors. They cut it off. They just cut his uniform off. And footage from the Rio Rancho Police Department in New Mexico shows the arrest of Albuquerque police officer Jeffrey Warden prior to his shift beginning. He was taken into custody by detectives of the Rio Rancho Police Department due to a warrant for his arrest. And according to the criminal complaint, Warden beat his spouse so badly she had several gashes on her head and face. Police said her injuries were so severe she had to be taken to the hospital, where she was diagnosed with a brain bleed and internal bleeding. Some of the domestic incident was captured on the couple's Ring doorbell system. Warden resigned from the police department shortly after his arrest, and APD says Warden has been with the department since November 2010. He was a senior officer with the department, and his trial is pending. Like I said, I will put this video up so you can watch them take the scissors and just cut his uniform off. He said, "You such a disgrace. We're not going to let you take it off. We're going to cut the uniform off of you." And you know, hey. And here's another story, cop related. You got black officers break from the unions over Trump endorsements. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. So we got in Philadelphia, police unions nationwide have largely supported Trump's re-election amid mass demonstrations over police brutality and accusations of systematic racism. But a number of black law enforcement officers are speaking out against these endorsements, saying their concerns over entering the 2020 political fight were ignored. Trump has touted his support from law enforcement community, which includes endorsement from national, city, and state officers, police unions, some of which publicly endorse a political candidate for the first time. He's running on what he calls a law and order platform and tapping into a strain of anger and frustration felt by law enforcement who believe they are being unfairly accused of racial discrimination, even though they have been murdering minorities, unarmed minorities. They feel they're being discriminated against. There's more than 8,000 law enforcement agencies in the United States, with large departments holding sway nationally. The number of minority officers in policing has more than doubled in the last 3 decades, but many departments still have a smaller percentage of black and Hispanic officers compared to the percentage of the general population those communities make up. Many fraternal black police organizations were formed to advocate for equal and equality within the police department, but also to focus on how law enforcement affects the wider black community. There have often been tensions between minority organizations and larger unions, like in August when the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers issued a letter condemning the use of deadly force, police misconduct, and abuse in communities of color. While supporting the Republican incumbent does not strictly fall along racial lines, many black officers say the endorsement of Trump does not fairly represent all dues-paying members. Say we are members of these unions, and they don't take into consideration our feelings about Donald Trump. They don't even care about us, and they don't care about our dues, said Rochelle Bilal, the recent past president of the Guardian Civil League of Philadelphia, calling the National Fraternal Order of Police Department's Trump endorsement an outrage. Bilal, who was elected as Philadelphia's first black female sheriff last year, spoke at an early October news conference with other black law enforcement groups in Philadelphia to condemn Trump endorsements and the process they say ignored their concerns over what they perceive to be racist remarks, support for white supremacist groups, and a lack of respect for women from Trump. But national union leaders say the process is designed to give everyone a voice, and the endorsement represents the majority of officers. And so the Fraternal Order of Police represents close to 350,000 officers nationally, but does not track racial demographics. It said, I'm a black American and a black law enforcement officer, said Rob Pride, the National Fraternal Order of Police Chair Trustees. It's been an emotional roller coaster ride for me since the George Floyd incident. It was horrific. Pride, who oversees the vote that leads to the organization's presidential endorsement, says the May 25th killing of Floyd in Minneapolis and the potential political climate is tearing America apart and having a similar effect at the Fraternal Order of Police. National FOP leaders said they have heard from members who don't agree with the Trump endorsement and that they're open to talking over their concerns, but All 44 state fraternal order of police chapters that cast a ballot voted for Trump. Price said the whole process starts locally, with lodges passing out candidate survey answers and ballots and then voting on a statewide meeting. State delegates then voted at the national meeting. So, you know, hey, even though the black police officers do not endorse Trump, they still, the police organization, police union, still endorse Trump, and that's something that they have never done before. They have never endorsed the president before to now. So this is the police that are endorsing Trump. So now we know we got to get Trump out of there. He got to go. And a lot of officers are feeling they aren't being considered, and a lot of issues that push them to that point border along racial lines. Hopkins, a 30-year veteran officer, said, and it's not just here. I got a call from some black officers in Kansas City, Missouri, who wanted to join my organization because they don't have any other outlet and they don't feel like they're being represented. So cops have discrimination going on within the police department, within the police unions, and so they've already formed a black police department, police officers union, and they're stating that they do not, without any debate, do not endorse Trump, not one bit. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how this plays out, because, you know, like I said, the rift between black and white in this country is so great, and then you talk about the rift between black and white cops is great too. So you got, on one hand, you got white cops killing black people. On the other hand, you got black cops that are like, hey man, you know what's going on here? You killing up all our people.
KPVIDEONEWS, y'all.
Go Dodgers!
It's time for what?